How's my hair?
Did you catch that, everyone? He said, how's my hair? Folks, I'll probably edit that bit out. I might leave it in, okay. Folks, I'm here this morning with Jeremy Britton, 24-hour wealth coach. And one of the things we're going to talk about in this CD of the month, and I'll do a quick preview for my interview for my members, is ritual behaviour, people who do crazy things who kind of seem to others like it's a bit out of the box. You guys who know me will know that I was a reluctant member of the 5am club. Well, it seems I'm here today with not only a member of the 5am club, but I think I'm here with the king of the 5am club, and that's Jeremy Britton, the 24-hour wealth coach. So, morning, Jeremy.
Good morning. I was just checking my hair, make sure my hair's okay, and the stubble. I actually did leave the house yesterday, so I did shave yesterday. I had a couple of appointments. Sometimes I do coaching just on the phone and on Skype with clients overseas, so I might not leave the house for 2 days. I might not shave for 2 days, but I still down the beach every single morning. This morning is my 547th check-in on this particular beach. When I'm travelling, of course, I go to different places at sunrise, but every single morning sunrise. I started 2 years ago. First year, I think I missed about 4 or 5 sunrises. So far this year, we're into the 8th month now. I've missed one this year.
Yeah, okay.
Every day at sunrise, regardless of what I'm doing. This is my ritual behaviour. This is my therapy. 2 years ago, before I started meditating at sunrise, I was actually like terminally depressed. I was clinically depressed. I had a whole bunch of stuff happen. Financially, I was betrayed by my actual relationship partner, by my business partner. I was ripped off by a couple of guys who worked with me. I lost clients, almost lost my business, lost my daughter, lost my father-in-law, lost a whole bunch of stuff, like money, relationships, everything just went away. And I was like, okay, do I go and throw myself under a bus, or do I just, what do I do? The doctor prescribed me antidepressants. I took one and I had such a severe reaction to it. I couldn't even get to the toilet to throw up. I was crawling on the ground, and decided I'm not going to take the medication anymore. And I had a couple of friends who were kind of woo-woo out there, and they said to me, look, if you want to get your head right, you got to meditate. You got to start with yourself, because what's actually depressing you is how you're thinking, how you're feeling about this stuff. Yes, plenty of people have lost businesses, they've lost partners, they've lost whatever. But you can say, okay, I've lost that, now I feel depressed about it, or I've lost that, now that's an opportunity to move on and get something even better. And all of the stuff that I've lost, I've actually got much better stuff now.
Yeah.
That I never would have got if I was still hanging on to the old stuff.
Yeah, okay, cool.
So I needed to go through that horrible rinse cycle. But I went and did a 10-day meditation course, and part of the course is sleep deprivation, that sort of stuff. Tony Robbins courses. So you're in bed at 10 or 11 o'clock every night, you're up at 4:30 every morning.
Right.
And this was the middle of winter that I actually did it. So it was really cold, and the sun didn't come up for 2 hours after you'd got up. But I got into that habit, and when I came home, I went, okay, I've got to stick with this, I've got to work with this, because I've got nothing else. This is what I'm hanging on to. And for a few weeks, it was just getting up, watching the sunrise every morning, and I didn't find out why. You know, the old proverb is, I used to do a seminar series with a nutritionist and a personal trainer, amazing guy who healed himself from being a paraplegic. And I was doing the money presentation, we had the organic food presentation, and the, g'day, one of my mates...
wait a minute, we'll pause on that. This is what Jeremy is g'daying. Now, you can't see that terribly well. How's the zoom? Wait a minute, we might get zoom. No, we're not going to get zoom. This is the view here this morning on the beach. Beautiful women, and here's the sunrise that Jeremy films every morning as part of his ritual behaviour. Sort of thing that ain't too bad once you're here, I promise you guys. So
it's on Facebook every morning, and in fact, when one day when I missed it, my dad rang me up and it's like, "Are you okay? What's wrong?" You know,
cool.
It's like I'm still like, I'd only been married for like 12 months at that stage, and I was busy. And my dad, can't you do that at the same time? We need the sunrise photo. Like, be a good husband, down on the beach. No.
Yeah, excellent.
But the seminar series we did was called Healthy, Wealthy and Wise. And I was teaching people how to become more wealthy so they could afford organic food, so they could afford a personal trainer.
Yep.
And these guys were actually teaching people how to be more healthy so they could live a long life. Because what's the point of having all the money if you've got cancer and you die when you're 60?
Absolutely.
But everyone talks about healthy, wealthy and wise, but people forget the first part of the proverb, which is early to bed and early to rise.
Yeah.
Makes you healthy, wealthy and wise. And after I started doing this and getting into the routine, I'm sort of analytical, come from financial planning for 20 years. So very much the background of how does this work, why does it work, what does it make it work? And the actual natural sunlight is an antidepressant. And the more time you can spend in natural sunlight, obviously don't go out and sunbake for 3 hours because you'll get burned. But natural sunlight, being in the rhythm of nature, rather than, we put on our incandescent lights or our computer lights and we stay up till midnight and then we miss the first part of the day. First part of the day, I can actually stare at the sun for the first couple of minutes. Like, you don't stare at the sun, the midday sun, but the first couple of minutes of sunrise, you can actually stare directly at the sun. You can see how big the sun is compared to the corona around the sun. And your pineal gland, right in there, what the ancients call the third eye. Pineal gland has an iris. It actually opens up in response to light. And that will give you the insight. That will actually give you the joy de vie that you see with these people who are exercising every morning. It's in their body. It's the movement actually gets you out of bed, gets you motivated, and the sunlight. You say, well, how do these people get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, go to the gym? Because if they didn't, if they lay in bed, if they had no sunlight, if they just had artificial light like most people do, and if they had less movement like most people lying in bed, then they get up and they sit in their chair all day and type at their computer, then you're going to end up depressed. And 52% of people in Australia are actually prescribed antidepressants.
Wow.
And those drugs, if you've ever tried them, or if you ever known anybody who's on them, they're very, very addictive, very, very hard to get off. And one of my friends, her husband died and she was prescribed these drugs because she was depressed. You're supposed to be depressed after your husband died. In the old days, you'd wear black for 12 months. That was the mourning period, and after 12 months you kind of get over it and you start dating again or moving on with your life. But now, like, oh, my husband died yesterday, I'm sad, here's an antidepressant. 8 years later, she's still on these drugs.
Yeah.
She tried to come off the drugs and she had such bad withdrawal symptoms the doctor prescribed methadone. And I'm not sure who you hang out with if you've got junkie friends like I used to have, but methadone is what they give you when you're trying to get yourself off heroin.
Right.
And methadone is actually very addictive as well. So that's an indication of how addictive these antidepressants are. When you're trying to get off them, they actually give you methadone, the same stuff they give to people trying to get off heroin. And most of the people in our society are not spending enough time outdoors and not spending enough time in nature. Too much artificial light, too much sedentary lifestyle, and we're all getting fat, we're getting depressed. What's that movie called? Sick, Fat and Nearly Dead? Something like that. And particularly where I'm coming from, again, financial planning background, but also working on holistic wealth. Like, what's the point of having $1 million if your partner doesn't like you, if your family doesn't talk to you, if you're fat, if you're depressed, if you're sick, you get cancer, that sort of stuff. So building your health, building your relationships, building your spirituality, building your lifestyle at the same time as you build your money, having enough money to enjoy all those things. But spending time in nature, I come out here and it's abundant. Right? The waves just keep on coming. The birds just keep on coming. The trees just keep on growing. And we live in a man-made world. We live in the matrix. Right? It's an artificial world that's created to have scarcity, to have limitation. And that works because it's for marketing, right? I'm going to make something like there's only so many iPhones to go around. You have to act now. You have to get them because it's only a limited quality. Act now and you'll get this. And we put in this scarcity, which man does, a scarcity and limitation to try and make people buy more stuff because that's the way the economy works. But if you look at an iPhone, well, there's one iPhone or there's 1 million iPhones. Like, eventually that thing is going to decay, it's going to disappear, it's not going to be there anymore. You look at the actual world that we live in, not the artificial man-made world that's sort of smack in the middle of the natural world. Like, you get an apple. If you eat 100% of the apple, that's it, or not. But if you eat 90% of the apple, you get 10% of the apple, you bury it in the ground.
Another apple comes. Well, many seeds, lots of apples come.
5 seeds will grow 5 trees. Each tree will hold about 300 apples. And this is the world we live in. I mean, if you've got a couple of pigs, you can have pigs forever. If you've got a couple of goats, you can have goats forever. People in African countries, in primitive places in Indonesia, they understand this stuff. They understand abundance much more than we do in the Western world because we've lived in this artificial, limited world, this scarcity world that's been man-made since the Industrial Revolution. 200 years ago, 95% of guys, 95% of people had a home-based business. They were either on the farm, or they had their saddlery, or they had their little corner store, or their family worked in there.
Yep.
And the dad would actually teach the wealth principles to the kids about, you buy something for this much, you sell it for this much, you keep some for yourself, you pay yourself first. Anybody read The Richest Man in Babylon? If you haven't read that, read that. If you haven't read that for 2 years, read it again.
Yes.
Ancient principles that will actually work, and they still work in this world. It's just most people aren't teaching them. And I know I'm on a bit of a rant right now, but this is fantastic stuff. And you look at what's going on in Europe at the moment. They're having a thing against the Jews, which, didn't that happen like about 50, 60 years ago? And also happened thousands of years ago. You read through the Jewish history, it's really quite
agreed.
nasty.
Yes.
But let's face it, nobody was actually born knowing how to manage money. You might have been born with money, with a silver spoon in your mouth. I've got a plastic spoon in my mouth, not sure about you. But the Jewish kids are actually taught how to manage money. One of my habits, I read the book of Proverbs. There's 30 Proverbs, there's 30 days in the month. You read one proverb every day for the month, and then you go back and you start again. Let this stuff sink in. Proverbs is a lot about managing your finance, managing your state, managing your money, managing your lifestyle. And the Jewish kids are brought up on this. Jewish kids know how to manage money. And when Hitler came out and said, hey, let's get rid of the Jews, he wasn't trying to get rid of the Jews because he thought they were ugly. Yes, he was talking about the master race, but if you have a look at it from a socio-economic point of view, back then, when Germany was almost broke, the Jews controlled almost everything. They had 30% of the land area of Germany. They owned it. They owned the real estate. They had all the money. So if we wipe out the Jews and we take their money, then we can support the war effort.
Right.
And that's what's happening in Europe at the moment. There's some other countries and in Africa where they're actually targeting the Jews under the auspice of it's a class war, it's a religious war. It's not. It's always economic. And when you hear these things about weapons of mass destruction and this guy's a bad guy, and follow the money. Is there money there? Is there oil there? Is there gold there? Oppressing these people. Are we going to be able to make a quid out of it? Yes. Then we'll start a war. So if you become one of the people, you don't have to be Jewish. You don't have to change your religion if you don't want to.
Yeah, what's that saying where they say they came for X, I did nothing. They came for Y, and they go down. When they finally came for me, there was no one left.
Exactly.
To stand up for me or whatever. Yeah.
And if you're part of the elite class, like if you're part of the 1% that's got all the money, like right now in the UK, I think the stats are the top 10% owns about 8,500 billion, almost $1 trillion in the top 10%. In the bottom 10%, it's less than 8 billion is actually owned. So there's a huge disparity, and in the States, it's actually even worse than that.
Yep.
In the States, they've got this social inequality, and they've also got 9 out of 10 people in the States own a gun. So the Columbine shootings and the Batman shootings and this sort of stuff, it's just angry young kids, very, very angry at the inequality. And also in the States, they don't have such a good healthcare system. Most of the people over there who have got a mental illness are denied the basic mental health care. And also you've got these addictive drugs. The drug that they prescribe for me, it's to treat antidepressant, right? Or to treat depression. Actually, one of the side effects is a 160% increase in suicidal tendencies.
Right.
About a 400% increase in hostility against other people. So the thing you're trying to reduce is actually increasing as you're treating it. And you find people like they always say the Columbine guy, he was depressed. And this other guy, if you see him, the Batman shooter, he's like that. I mean, he's on something. If you're depressed in the States, you get prescribed something because they're actually over-medicated there more than what we are. But again, the basic principles that worked 1,000 years ago still work today. If you read some of King Solomon's stuff, you read the Proverbs, you read these sort of things that are in the Bible. And I'm, again, not being religious, but the Jewish people do it, the good Christians do it, the Muslims do it. If they stick to the stuff that worked 1,000 years ago, it still works today. And it doesn't matter what we've done in the last couple of hundred years with the Industrial Revolution, we're still running business. Whether it's an internet business or whatever, you're still buying something for one price and selling for another. You're still manufacturing something, you're still providing a service. Still very, very basic. The internet is just basically mail order on speed. You can now order stuff and get it sent to you very, very quickly, which we used to have in the days of Wells Fargo and Copy Code. Still the same stuff, and yet people think, those wealth principles from 1,000 years ago won't work. Well, try it.
Well, and similarly, you mentioned mail order, those copywriting principles by guys like Robert Collier, Kennedy, and all those guys from Ye Olde Worldy, scientific advertising, David Ogilvy, those sorts of folks. Those same principles that worked in mail order, but they won't work now on the internet. What's the difference? It's just a media to get from us to them. It just happens to be, I love how you put it, mail order on speed.
Yeah.
So, excellent.
And the interesting thing is, if you have a look at the most successful copywriter in the world, I think is Frank Kern. And some of these guys, Frank Kern, Ari Galper, and a few of these other guys, are now turning away from, we used to send out mail order newsletters and free ebooks and that sort of stuff. Now, what they're doing, the latest and greatest thing, is to actually do direct mail.
Yeah, absolutely.
And why is direct mail working? Because no one's doing it.
Yeah,
you think about how many emails you get now compared to 20 years ago. If you're on the internet, you get one email a day or one email every second day, and you used to get a lot of stuff in the mail.
Yep.
And you sort through your mail and go junk. Oh, there's a postcard. And now you're getting so much stuff in your inbox. Your phone bill comes in your inbox. Your bank statement comes in your inbox. Everything comes through the inbox.
Yep.
You don't actually get any direct mail.
Yeah.
So when the postman stops at your house, you go, woohoo, what's this?
Yeah.
Open up advertising material. Great.
Well, and heaven forbid the guys who are listening to this that have been studying me for some time understand that I've been singing these praises of direct mail for some time. And what Jeremy just said, imagine if, heaven forbid, you make your direct mail look like with a handwritten envelope and a stamp on it. What Jeremy just described is, again, on speed, because how long has it been since you got a handwritten live stamp with actual ink? You're probably going to get the envelope and say, quick, kids, come here. See this stuff? It's ink. That's how we used to send our mail. So pretty cool stuff. I'm glad we're on the same page on this stuff. And we talk about Frank Kern. Very few people in our world, because we're talking primarily, for Jeremy's sake, to real estate agents. Not a lot of people will know Frank Kern. Some will. He's an internet marketer whose primary claim to fame is he's the best internet marketer on the planet, and absolutely that is the case. And he and others like that are embracing the other media like direct mail. So, and no one else is. You're right. Because why? Oh, heaven forbid, it costs 60 cents to mail. Email's free. So good stuff. So let me play. Let me play devil's advocate with Jeremy for a moment on some of your guys' behalf. All that stuff you described, for some of my audience, will have resonated magnificently. And some would have went, just cut through the crap, mate, what do I do?
Real estate.
Let's give it... No, I don't mean from a real estate perspective. They know how to do real estate. They know that stuff.
No.
They got that right. Can we talk about me being a reluctant member of the 5 a.m. club, ritual behaviour? If you were to give some of these time-honoured principles, like... save 10% of your wealth, Richard Man in Babylon, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, all those sorts of things. What are some really simple daily activities that these guys can do, just even, heaven forbid, to say, to try it on? You know what I mean? Like you were about to jump off a bridge, you thought, okay, anything's better than that, I'll just go do this despite what I believe or don't believe in it. You know what I mean? So what are some things these guys can do?
Again, it's interesting because I've come from 20 years of financial planning, tax, direct shares, stock analysis. I'm a student of the economic clock. I actually wrote a book about that a few years ago, which predicted the GFC years before it happened. Everyone went, oh, no, it's not going to happen. I also predicted the downturn in the real estate market. They said that's not going to happen. But I've studied individual cycles of shares and property over hundreds of years. Right? Obviously I haven't been alive for hundreds of years, but I've been in the market for 20 years. I've seen a few cycles, and then you can backtrack and have a look. So I advise my clients when's a good time to buy property, when's a good time to sell, when's a good time to buy shares. So all this left brain analysis, I've got all that stuff. I've had that for 20 years until I actually had a heart attack when I was 32. And I was working 76 hours a week in financial planning at the time, and they did a full body scan, and if you do the thermal mapping, like the left side of my head was like on fire, baby. It was going, right? And on the scan on the right side of my brain was just this blue, like crickets, nothing there. And the doctor who did the scan said, you've had one heart attack, you're due for another one, you need to change everything in your lifestyle. By the way, you need to balance out your brain. Otherwise, you're going to have either a nervous breakdown or a physical breakdown. You could be dead or you could go crazy. And I was like, okay, how do I balance my brain? He's like, well, that's your job. Right. Because he, again, was from the analytical, mathematical sort of world. world.
Yeah.
And so I had to go out and go, well, I don't know any hippies. I think that dancing is gay. I think that singing is gay. I think that painting is gay. Poetry is gay. Like, all of this stuff is woo-woo bullshit, right? That's what I used to think. Until someone says, if you don't do that, you're going to die. Then you go, I might just actually...
give me some of that. Give me some of that stuff. Yeah.
So the last couple of years, I've been going very, very heavily into the meditation. I actually studied a degree in hypnotherapy to add to my degree in financial advising, which is very interesting, left and right. But also, again, analytically wanting to figure out how this stuff works, why it works, who's used it, who's actually used it for positive effect. The Egyptians used to do hypnosis back in 4500 BC for many mental ailments as well as many physical ailments, because as the doctors will actually admit now, 85% of all illness is psychosomatic. It starts in your head. So my best advice is actually balance both sides. And there's many people like me, working 70 hours a week. I didn't have time to go to the gym. I didn't have time to meditate. I didn't have time to play. And it's really important to play, but also play in a way that's actually going to feed the other side and balance you out. So, I mean, I don't go for a 5-mile run every morning. I come down to the beach and meditate rather than meditating in my house, where you're surrounded by all the EMF and all the radioactivity in your walls, and all the stuff that's coming off the power lines in your own house is actually worse than the stuff at the power lines outside. You get out into nature, and I just happened to take a picture of the sunrise one morning and post it on Facebook, and I got 40 or something comments. I'm like, wow, other people like this. And the next day I took another picture of the sunrise, because I was down here anyway, and I posted it on Facebook and I posted it on Google+, and I got comments and people liking it. Like, wow. And my friends went from 600 to over 2,000 over a 6-month period, just doing the daily sunrise. I went, wow, this is actually, like, my little thing that I'm into is actually helping my business. And coming down here and clearing my brain before I start filling it up with, I've got to answer this email, I've got to ring that guy back, I've got to do this quote for that guy. Clearing my brain out actually helps me run my business better. So really balancing out. If you don't have any funny woo-woo rituals, get some. Okay. Very important to get some. And get some that's actually empowering. I mean, you could smoke weed every night, that's probably going to clear your head out, but it doesn't help you long term, and it doesn't help your clients. I find meditation is fantastic, and you find a lot of the greats, and I interview a lot of people on my radio show, and they don't actually talk about this stuff, because still, like, back in 1937 when Think and Grow Rich came out, they weren't allowed to talk about meditation because it was a pagan activity. The Hindus did it, the Buddhists did it, the non-Christians, we won't talk about that, we'll pretend it doesn't exist. And I've actually interviewed a few millionaires and multi-millionaires on my show, and they're always talking about, this is how I built my wealth and this is how I do that. And I ask them a question, so how much do you meditate? And they go, well, actually I do it once a week. And there's a recurring theme for these guys that they never talk about in their books, they never talk about in their interviews. And I just asked them. And I got a few of these millionaires who get interviewed all the time on TV and radio and the paper, and they go, no one's ever asked me that. Like, cool, I want to know. Because I've just discovered this thing, and I find that it's actually really, really good for my business. It's really, really good for my mental health. It allows me so much clarity, so I can just solve problems like that because I'm not thinking about all this other stuff. Clear your schedule first. You can't do much on a full desk. You can't do much with a full inbox, and there's little phones going all the time. You need to have 5 minutes of silence, 20 minutes of silence, so you can complete your task. I come down here in the morning, I've got a problem, and bang, it's gone, because I get rid of all the other stuff. Or I come down here and I go, I'm going to meditate on my client today. I'm going to think about my client and nothing but my client, what's in his highest good, because I've got a coaching call with him in an hour. And I ring this guy, and my focus is purely on him. I can see stuff about his life that he can't see because he's so busy in the thick of it. And I can actually go, okay, well, you're having problems in your finances, you're having problems in your business. How's your love life right now? Don't ask me about that. Like, well, if your relationship's not real good, how are you actually going to have these other areas? Because they're all connected. We're all dancing this dance. And if you're going into an interview situation, you're going into a sales situation, and you've just had a fight with a missus, or you haven't spoke to her for 3 days, or you haven't had sex for 2 years, you're going to sit there with a client and you're going to say, this is a really good house, but somewhere inside, your body language, your physiology, your whatever, is just, I'm not happy. I'm not feeling it today. And you're telling this client, yeah, it's a great house, it's a great product, buy this product, sign up, whatever. And they just start to get this feeling deep down like, no,
something ain't right.
And I don't care how good you are at your NLP or your body language, and I've worked with Alan Barbara Pease and Michael Grinder. Studied NLP at university, actually, way back in the 1990s, when I thought it was hocus pocus. And you can be really, really good, but you can't be that good. You can't be on all the time. You can lie to a person, you can make your eyes move in the right space, but 5 minutes later, you're going to be thinking about something else, and your eyes are going to move in the opposite direction. They will pick up on it subconsciously. They won't know why, but they'll just know there's something not right. Yeah. And by sorting out relationships with a few of my clients, they've actually enjoyed massive increases in their income. I told you yesterday, Glenn, about one of my guys who's actually, I doubled his income, then we doubled it again, and then we tripled it, and he's over 700% right now. He actually went up to 1,000% 1 month increase in his income. And for the first couple of months, all we did was talk about his relationship with his wife, his relationship with himself, how he thought about himself. And if you're not valuing yourself, you're going to do less value work for your clients. You're going to do less value work for the company. If you feel an absolute pride in yourself, and I don't care whether you sweep streets or pick up rubbish, but if you love doing that, and if you love yourself, you're going to do that so well that you're going to be the best in an industry. You're going to end up owning that industry. This is why there's some guys in real estate, in sales, in financial planning, in the internet marketing arenas who are making hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. You know, one of my clients who makes $130,000 a month in the real estate game, right? And he still wants to make more. He wants to do it faster, more effective, more efficient. So we go, okay, here's a left brain strategy. Here's how we can outsource. Instead of having your assistant, we can get one from Fiji, or we can get one from the Philippines, or we can get one from Africa. Because we've got Odesk, we've got Elance, we've got phones and the internet now. You can actually do that a lot more cheaply. And here's also some right brain strategies to work on yourself to make the clients happier. Because all things being equal, it doesn't matter whether you're selling houses, cars, greeting cards. If you're buying coffee, would you rather buy your coffee from someone who's happy and loves making coffee?
Oh, definitely,
than someone who's like, I need my job, I need to make the coffee, I need to pay the mortgage, and I'm here selling the coffee because I'm in need. And you got the other guy, I love being here, I love making the coffee, I love serving the customers, and I love paying my mortgage, and I love doing this because I'm in love. And you go, holy shit, it's just one word. One word, I'm in love versus I'm in need. And that changes everything.
Definitely.
You know, I'll actually pay more to go to this place for coffee. You know, it's $5 here, it's $3.50 over there. I don't want to deal with that guy. And the negativity and the lack that this person is feeling actually breeds more. And whatever you focus on always increases. You focus on how much you love your life, how much you actually love doing what you're doing, and how much you love yourself, and how much you love serving others. You're just going to get more love and more abundance and more clients and more everything. You know, and my relationship is fantastic now. You know, whereas I was in a relationship before, like 10, 15 years, and I was content. I was in my little comfort zone. It was like, you know, it's not so great that I'm bouncing out of bed in the morning, but it's not so crap that I want to leave. Go. You know, and if you're in that little comfort zone, whether it's financially or, you know, spiritually or relationship or whatever, it can be bloody annoying. Because I want to tell you, your comfort zone is not comfortable. Right? It's not comfortable. It's not what you want. Everything you want is located outside of your comfort zone. You know, I worked in the bank for 8 years as a financial planner, and every year I was there, I ordered a bigger uniform. You know, I just put on like 2 inches every year. I got bigger and bigger and bigger and more stressed and more depressed. I had to go and have massages because I was always in pain. And I thought, oh, it's because of the way I hold the phone, so I need to get... And you're always putting Band-Aids over your pain.
It's the heating up the frog thing, isn't it?
Exactly. I've written a book called Hot Frog, Cold Frog.
Okay.
Hot Frog, Cool Frog. It's actually... I don't know, but I think it's the first book that actually uses NLP and hypnotherapy in the book. Right? Okay. And I've written it... It's a kid's book, but it's for adults. It's kind of a bit like Who Moved My Cheese.
Right,
you read the parable of the hot frog and the cool frog, and you think, well, there's something here. And you read it again and you go, oh. And you read it again and you go, holy crap, now I get it. It's like reading Think and Grow Rich. You read it the first time, you go, this is like a chemistry textbook. I just don't get it. And then probably the third or fourth time you read it, the light bulb goes on. And, you know, I think we were talking yesterday about chipping away at a wall, and it's the 99th tap, nothing, and then the 100th tap you go bang, and you're actually through the wall. And just go, well, why couldn't I do the 100th tap first? You can't. You know, why couldn't I just lose that last pound of fat first. Well, you have to get through the other 14 pounds of fat before you can do that.
Yep. Is it? There's so, like, I'm the product, and the folks know this, of 5,000 hours of audio and 300 or 400 books. So it all manages up in my brain with all these quotes. But one of them says something like, the stone versus the river. The river's going to win every time, not through strength, but through persistence. So. Yeah.
Consistency.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of favourite quotes. Persistence beats resistance. Love that one. Mm-hmm. And again, my routine coming here every single morning. And even if I'm on a plane, I'll catch the sunrise somewhere.
Yep.
I'll be travelling. And usually close to water. Because water just chills you out. Why do you think waterfront property commands such a bigger price than other property? People like to look at it. It actually lowers your blood pressure.
Yep.
And again, all the stuff that I'm saying, I've researched, because I hear this woo-woo stuff and then I go, okay, how does it work?
Yep.
Why does it work? Why does meditation work so well? Why does hypnosis actually work so well? And people who have been hypnotised and people who undergo personality changes. So everybody's seen the silly thing where you can hypnotise a guy and say, okay, you're now an Elvis impersonator and you dance like you're an Elvis impersonator. And here's a guy who would never dance, right? He's a corporate suit, uptight, coil up the arse kind of guy. But what if you could actually grab a guy who's struggling in business and hypnotise him and say, now you're a Richard Branson impersonator.
Yeah.
You're going to think like him, you're going to act like him, you're going to read what he reads, you're going to watch what he watches. And you go, wow, that could work. If they can make a white guy dance like Michael Jackson or an uptight guy dance like Elvis Presley, then you could actually make a guy think like Richard Branson. And Richard Branson does not watch the soap operas.
That's right, yeah.
I've given up so much in my life to get where I am. And I actually discarded my TV probably, 8 years ago? I don't watch the TV, I don't watch the soap operas, I don't watch the news. I don't read the newspapers. If I do pick up a newspaper, I skip over to the business section.
Right.
Otherwise, my news, I find the news I want. So I'll look at Psychology Today. I don't care what business you're in, sooner or later you've got to sell it to a person. So you've got to understand the psychology of a person. And it doesn't matter whether you're selling something worth this much or something worth this much, you're still selling to a person. You need to understand people more than anything else. And for the economic stuff, again, you find it on the internet or you skip to the the middle page.
And if something really is going to happen, like if there's a tsunami coming, either A, it doesn't matter, or B, someone's going to tell you.
Exactly. If I've got a vote on Saturday, someone will ring me and say, hey, have you voted yet? Who did you vote for? I go, oh, there's an election on? Oh, who's in now? So the important stuff, you'll actually be told. All the rest of that stuff is just fluff. Right? And the economic news that they say every day, gold moved up 3 points and BHP moved down 2 points. Who cares? If you study it over a year-by-year pattern, you start to see the cycles. Bank stocks will always go down in September. Why is that? Let's find out. Coca-Cola stocks will always go down in winter and up in summer. Why is that? Let's have a look at that. Don't have a look at the daily news, have a look at the season by season, the cyclic and the stuff. Annual stuff. And then you can actually buy low, sell high, exactly what they tell you to do. So, there's lots of advice. I'm pouring out stuff here, and I've forgotten the actual question. Let's
sort of. That's freaking gold stuff. We're now the sun's well and truly up in the air. Jeremy's on his hundreds and hundreds of sunrises. So I guess the call to action I'd make for the crew is for those on this Seed of the Month program who have seen this, who want to connect more with some of your goodies. Oftentimes, the people who I interview who do really well out of these interviews give something away. Have you got an opt-in of something that's like this interview, truly of value that you want to offer the guys and send them, whether it's to your Facebook page or whatever that might be? Free plug time from Jeremy, 24-hour wealth coach.
You can go to my website, 24hourwealthcoach.com. So that's number 4, HOUR. I don't work 24 hours a day, but I believe in having holistic wealth. So don't have a really great work life and then you go home to a crap home life. You've got to have 24-hour wealth, health, money, relationships, spirituality. Everything can be more fantastic than what it is. 24hourwealthcoach.com. If you want to see, I do once a week, after a meditation, I actually record a video down here on the beach, and depending on the day, depending on what I'm meditating on, it's how to make more money, how to have a happier life, how to build something. So go to youtube.com/24hourwealthcoach. Again, find me on Facebook. You can see the sunrise pictures every day. If you're still in bed, you can wake up to my sunrise even if you went down here. So yeah, connect through the website, connect through YouTube, Facebook. I'm there all over social media.
Cool.
And love to actually help people out because I can shift them to that stage. Then they can actually afford to go to the next stage and the next stage.
Beautiful.
And I've had some clients who pay me like this much a month and then I actually boost their income, and they can pay me this much a month, and I can work with them twice as much, and then they can,
Absolutely.
It's all good fun.
Yep.
It's all good fun.
Dude.
And again, I mean, just encouraging the abundance, because imagine if you got this information into the hands of average people, what a difference it can make. I mean, interestingly enough, I was in Africa 2 years ago, and I was there to get married. Right? I was there just incognito, sneak into the country, get married and leave and have my honeymoon. Within 2 days, I just talked to someone in the street, and they said, "Oh, what do you do?" And I said, "Well, I do this and this," and they're like, "Really? Wait right here." And within 2 days, I was interviewed on 3 radio stations. I was running seminars for the Harare Chamber of Commerce. I was running seminars for the Zimbabwe Women in Business Group. And I did a breakfast meeting. It was an hour and a half breakfast meeting. It ended up being an 8-hour workshop, because these people are like, "Please don't go, please don't go." And it was so funny. They're saying, "Oh, these ideas, they sound so fabulous, but they work in the West. They work in Australia. They work in America. They work in England. Will they work in Africa?" And I'm like, "Dude, where do you think we pinched the ideas from?" Like, richest man in Babylon. He lived in Africa. All the stuff that was written in the book of Proverbs. Like, Jesus was an African. King Solomon was an African. You invented this stuff. The West took it, polished it up, and went, "Here's the secret." Like,
and
no,
sell it back to you.
I mean, I was in a country where the 95% unemployment. The average wage is $1 a day. And saying to these guys, "Here, you can do this. You can do this. You've just got to be more creative." There's no limit on resources. There is only a limit on resourcefulness. And I ran a seminar on a Monday and saying, "Hey, you can do this. You can do this. Even if you've got no money, you can do this." And they didn't know that you could get goods on consignment. They didn't know that you could rent a place and pay the rent at the end of the month. And a week later, they called me back to do another seminar. I'm like, "Oh, okay, I'll go and do another seminar." And this same lady who was at the first seminar, she's like, "Guess what I did last week?" I'm like, "I don't know. What did you do?" She goes, "I rented a premises with no money down. I got a whole bunch of stock on consignment with no money down. I actually made an arrangement to put this stock into the local school or the local church, so that the parents dropping off their kids will actually see it. And every time she sold an article of clothing, she gave 10% back to the church and the school and the community.
Right.
And she didn't have to pay for it until after it was sold.
Beautiful.
So she actually started a business with $0 in 1 week and was already making money. Like, wow. And imagine the difference that makes to that community. If someone else sees her doing it and go, "Oh, I can do that."
Yeah.
And you can lift people out of poverty. And people in Australia, we're not really in that kind of poverty, not $1 a day kind of poverty. But if you feel you're in poverty because your spirit's not right, or your head's not right, or your health's not right, or your money's not where you'd like it to be, you just need one idea, one basic principle to shift you out of that and go, "Hey, this is possible." So, sorry, I'm rambling again. 24hourwealthcoach.com is where you can connect with me and watch videos. I've got probably 150 videos up on YouTube right now.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Excellent. Well, folks, that was me getting out of bed as a reluctant member of the 5 a.m. club, but I can't help it now. I wake up at that time, so it was a great privilege and a lot of fun to come and hang out, see the sunrise for Jeremy for the 8,000th time, photographing it, posting it up on Facebook. So do connect with Jeremy further, and I'll talk to you next month on the CD of the Month. Thanks for that, guys, and bye for now.
That was fun.
Yeah.
I'll go on my soapbox a little bit.